Kendra and Michael here again to talk to you about the ski portion of the winter quadrathlon. If you'd like information on equipment for the bike, run, or snowshoe sections of the course, check out one of the other videos we've made on our social media outlets.
Gear selection for the ski portion of the Mount Taylor Quad can be tricky. The course sits right between a really hard cross-country ski course or a very easy skimo or alpine touring style course. If you're pretty comfortable on cross-country skis, you might be best off with a Nordic setup like what you see to my left. These are classic cross-country skis, or you might even appreciate using skate skis. But if you're newer to skiing, or maybe you just like your backcountry setup, you might like something like what we have behind Mike here for more control.
Absolutely. Kendra's going to go over the rules specifically, but split boards are allowed on the course, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of that setup as well.
Okay, let's talk about rules. We allow skis and split boards on the ski portion of the race. We do not allow drift boards or approach skis. And the way we define an allowable ski length so that we don't get into that approach ski realm is that we've adopted international ski mountaineering, skimo race rules. And that is that men's skis cannot be shorter than 160 centimeters in length, and women's skis cannot be shorter than 150 centimeters in length. And we don't have a minimum ski length for kids or juniors. On the split board side of things, we don't have a minimum split board length either.
So just to address the split boards, the pros are going to be like if you're comfortable snowboarding down, it could be a good option for you. There are some flatter sections of the course on the way down that are going to require you to either unbuckle a boot and kind of do the one leg shuffle all the way, basically actually back to the transition.
It's like 400 yards probably at the end of the race.
Yes, and then on the uphill side, there's just typically a weight penalty, depending on your setup, of course, but the split boards can be a little bit heavier than your ski setups for sure.
Yeah, I would say generally speaking, split boards are a little bit more awkward setup. It can be a little bit more difficult, but if that's what you prefer to do, it'll get you through the race.
Absolutely. I started the first year I did it on a Nordic setup without steel edges, and that was pretty difficult for me, and I switched from there to a split board, and then I got a little bit more comfortable on skiing, and I currently run like a touring setup, and that works well.
Cool. Well, let's talk pros cons of a touring setup or alpine touring skimo. Those are sort of all used interchangeably, and a traditional cross-country ski setup. So let's talk cross-country skis first. And really this conversation about skins applies to all of these skis. You want skins for this race. Unless you are an expert skate skier that can ski straight up Heartbreak Hill without breaking a sweat, we recommend that you run skins because it's a pretty steep climb.
Yeah, it's at 20 something degrees, and it's too steep to just allow for the scales on the skis to hold your forward progress.
Yeah, you'll be using a herringbone technique if you don't have skins.
Skins are a directional fabric, and they allow you to basically hold forward progress as you slide up. So you'll slide your ski up, and then they engage the snow to keep your forward progress as you move like your opposite foot up the slope.
And they stick to the bottom of your skis, so they're removable for the way down. So you wear skins for the way up, tear them off at the top, and then ski down without them. So let's talk about pros and cons of the various setups. Let's start with cross-country skis. I don't have skate skis here, but I do have some classic cross-country skis. You can see here, even just by looking at them, you can tell they're way lighter and smaller than the alpine touring or skimo setups. So that's the pro, way lighter, easier to get to the top of the mountain. The downside is that, of course, the boot is lighter and less rigid, so you've got less control through the boot, and then only the toe of the boot engages with the ski when you're going downhill. So it's tougher to make those, you're not making hoggy stops or anything like that. It's more step turns through the corners, things like that. We do recommend that unless you're a really strong cross-country skier, that you select a ski with metal edges for this race because it's fairly steep on the way down and it can be icy. For those of you who've done the race before, I'm sure you're familiar with Checkpoint Charlie. That's the hairpin turn on the way down where there's usually somebody parked in a snowcat there to watch you crash. You can survive that a lot easier if you've got edges on your skis.
Yeah, it just translates to a lot more control than a non-metal edged cross-country ski.
Yep, but of course there's a major weight penalty. So personally, I've settled in on using a classic cross-country ski setup for the race, but for many years I wasn't so sure that that was the right answer.
Yep. So as far as touring setups go, your touring boots usually have a pinned toe that allows you to move your heel on the way up the mountain, and then of course lock into the ski for the descent, which just gives you, it's just like a downhill ski basically as far as control goes. As far as cornering and stopping and things like that, it's a lot more, just a lot more control. And of course, it's heavier. That's the downside. They're making stuff lighter and lighter these days, but it's probably never going to quite match up to the cross country setups as far as weight goes.
And you can see the differences on both ends of that spectrum with these two skis behind us. So the silver set of skis is a Skimo setup. That would be for Skimo racing. Actually pretty light, even compared to cross country skis, but you still do get the ability to lock your heel in. And then the red skis are more of a touring style, a lot wider underfoot, heavier, way more control, more fun.
And a lot of the ski course is just going to come down to personal preference and what you are comfortable with. If, you know, like she mentioned, if you're really comfortable on cross-country skis, it's probably no big deal, and you can jump on the course and hammer it, no problem. If you're if you want more control and just feel more comfortable with more control, especially for the descent, one of these other setups is probably going to be a better option for you.
Mm-hmm. But again, this is a case of use what you've got. We don't want you to run out and buy a $2,000 ski setup to come and do the race for the first time. You'll make it down one way or another. We'll be there to help you. We'll be there to cheer for you. So come and join us.
Absolutely. So some of the other considerations for the ski course, you do need to carry your snowshoes from the run ski transition to the ski snowshoe transition. So you're gonna be looking for a backpack that either has capacity on the inside to strap your snowshoes into, or some kind of webbing system on the outside to securely stow those on your way up and then again on your way down. As far as clothing goes, it's kind of like the rest of the course. It's going to be a little bit of personal preference, a little bit of weather dictating what's going to be comfortable for that day. But as you do go up the mountain, and especially as you kind of go around on the snowshoe section and go up the face, there's potential for more wind than maybe what you've seen on the rest of the course. So at this point in the course is when you need to prepare for that, because there's no gear being ferried for you farther up the course.
That's right. So just to reiterate, you will not have a drop bag available to you at the ski to snowshoe transition or at the top. So from the run to ski on, you need everything with you until you return to that point.
Yeah, there will be aid. There'll be water and some fuel and stuff at both the ski snowshoe transition and at the summit. But as far as a drop bag, your last one's going to be at the run ski transition.